Hey guys, Michael here. Today we are going to be starting a new series called Michael's TikToks. So, in this...
Ahem.
Oh, by the way, I'm joined by Cosi.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, and we're going to be
If I
talking...
fall asleep, it's Michael's fault.
You what?
If I fall asleep, it's going to be
If you
Michael's
fall asleep,
fault.
it's going to be Michael's fault. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
Go ahead.
Give me a second. But anywho, we are going to be talking about how AMD's 7 nanometer process is going to, quote unquote, break the industry. Okay? So, before be,
Before Michael dies.
before I die, I want to explain this to y'all. Yeah, that makes sense. So, what they're doing right now is the current lineup is Zen, as you can see right here, which is a 14 nanometer process node transistor. Okay, so they plan to do 12 7 nanometer and then 7 nanometer plus. They're copying plus 14 nanometer plus by Intel. Like seriously, how many pluses do you have to put after plus? Just
And why is the
it's dumb.
number? Why is the number smaller?
What number?
It goes from 14 to 7.
Ah, okay. So well, for a CPU transistor, the smaller it is, less energy is going to be pumped through it trying to get it to work right. So less wattage it's going to consume, and the less
Okay.
power voltage it's going to consume. So better power efficiency plus better thermal efficiency. Plus, with a smaller transistor, which just will be half the size, it will allow them to pack double the amount of transistors in a single CPU die or a CPU core than they were previously able for the same power and the same thermals. Well, better thermals, same thermals, you know. And the
Right.
more transistors that there are, the more instructions per clock it'll be able to do, and the more in performance you'll get and everything else. So before I get to the leaks that were done by Adore TV, I want to show you guys how Intel and AMD are competing right at this second. At this second, I
Well,
say in meaning as in right as their current lineup of CPUs are. So as you see over here, you're gonna get the multi-threaded workload and the single-threaded workload of the I forgot the three. The Ryzen 3 1200 and the Intel Core i3 7100 series. CPU. And this is all from a CPU benchmark right over here. So these all have multiple benchmarks done.
well,
So
yeah.
as you see right here, the multi-threaded workload of the Ryzen 3 is 17% better than the Intel Core i3. But so AMD has its quote unquote infinity fabric, okay? So that's what connects all the CPU cores together. The infinity fabric links together the cores more effectively than the Intel's equivalent. I don't know the name offhand, and I don't feel like looking it up right now. But yeah, it's something. But in the single-threaded workload, it falls short because of the architectural design. There's only a 23% decrease. But here's what matters. What you guys are more concerned about is price and price per performance or performance per dollar. What I'm trying to say, PPP. Over here, the price is $38.92 compared to Intel's equivalent of $138.99. So you see, AMD gives you equal-ish performance for half that price. So there's a base clock speed of 3.1 gigahertz compared to the 3.9 gigahertz. What a base clock is, or what a gigahertz is how many instructions it can do in that clock speed. So 3.1 gigahertz means it can do 31 billion calculations in a given second. depending on the workload of that CPU. And it can turbo up, meaning it can increase its own speed to 3.4 gigahertz. So if you look at the equivalent Intel spec thing, it can, no, not spec, equivalent, not, what is it called? If you look over at the equivalent competitor, the Core i3, it has a base clock of 3.9. I couldn't find a turbo speed, so I'm going to guess it doesn't turbo. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it has 2 cores and 4 threads, compared to AMD's 4 cores, 4 threads. So it has 4 dedicated cores, not 2 cores with 4 dedicated threads. So right there, you will get a better performance, no doubt about it. Most of the time, with these newer generations of CPU. Now the TDP, or total power draw, or total drawed power, excuse me. The TDP, total drawed power, is 65 watts. So that means how much power you need to power the CPU to make it stable. So watts, blah blah blah. You know, that's not important right now. But the less TDP you have, the cooler your CPU will run. So Intel has got this down to a mere 51 watts, which as of right now, I'm running an FX Series 6300, and it's almost 100 watt TDP. So right there, this basically is half. And blah blah blah. I'm just using it because my brain's being dumb butt. And why are you not talking?
Yeah. Because I'm listening.
For once. I mean, what?
Wow.
So considering the price range and considering that AMD practically cut the price in half and gives you 17% better performance in multi-threaded workload, which you will see a decent improvement when you're rendering out a video or doing multi-threaded workload tasks. But in single-threaded workload tasks like gaming or something, Intel will always well, not always, but is better because there's a 23% increase in the single-threaded workload. So you gotta remember, Intel has worse multi-threaded workload, but better single-threaded. Now, you would think that they would go hand in hand, better, but nope, because their fabric that their fabric that holds the CPU together. I'm using my hands a lot. I don't know why. Is noticeably worse in multi-threaded workload because of the latency between core to core talking, quote unquote talking. They talk to each other, so the latency between it is horrible. But if you look at the Infinity Fabric, it's noticeably like 17% better. A lot better, but 17 is the number I saw, so that's what I'm saying. So if you look over here we're gonna be comparing the Ryzen 5 1600 compared to the Intel Core i equivalent Core i5 7600. So I want to show you something real quick. Over here, there's 6 cores, 12 threads for the Ryzen 5. If you look over here for the Core i5, it's 4 cores, 4 threads, double the price almost.
Yep.
So if you look over here, you get 28% better multi-core performance in something that's half the price of, or not half the price, but like $100 and some less. Actually, about about $90 less than the 4-core 4-thread Core i5 equivalent. $86 less. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you get 28% performance by the Ryzen 5 1600. So if you look at the single-threaded workload performance, you will see a noticeable difference. It's a 26% head lead of Intel. But Intel excelled by 26% in the single-threaded workload, which if you're rendering out a video or something, it's a multi-threaded workload task. You'll see much more improvement than the Core i5 16.
Michael! Good thing we're going to edit it out. Remember to edit it out.
I hope so. Blah blah blah.
Or
Rewind. Shoot up. So if you look at this, if you look at, there's going to be
just
so many
remember.
bloopers. 3, 2, 1. If
Go.
you look at the single-threaded workload, Intel excelled by 26%. You won't notice that in many multi-threaded workloads, like video rendering or stuff like that, like Photoshop and stuff. You'll get that better time in the multi-threaded workloads. But if you look like in something like gaming that really utilizes the better per single-threaded workload, you will notice a huge improvement in frames by like 2 to 10. Somewhere around that range. I'm not going to quote because I don't know offhand, but it's going to be somewhere around 2 to 10 frames. So basically, if you look at the specs over here, for the first gen Ryzen 5, it's going to be a 3.2 gigahertz base clock speed with a turbo of 3.6. Now, you can overclock this. This is naturally unlocked by AMD. So, thank you. You don't have to pay more for the overclockable version by Intel,
Nope.
which was extremely aggravating.
Well, yeah.
So if you look at the clock speed of the Core i5 7th generation, you will see that it's a 3.5, which is about a 0.3 gigahertz increase. You will not notice any performance degradation there. Or the turbo speed, which is about, 1, blah, 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 about a 5.5 gigahertz improvement. You really won't notice that much of a difference. What you will notice a difference is its number of cores. This is a 6-core 12-thread processor by AMD instead of a 4-core 4-thread processor by Intel. You will not notice any difference. But if you look at the TDP, it's a 65-watt TDP processor for both. So you will not be wasting any power if you go from one to the other. It's the same amount of power. Ouch. I just hit it. But if you look at the price is where it gets you. You get better performance for something that's practically $84, 86 you said? Something like that.
Yeah.
Around $86 less. You get better multi-core performance and just around 25%, 28% decrease in single performance. So you win some, you lose some. And you don't lose a lot. You lose relatively nothing compared to the previous FX series. If those are slow as molasses, I have one. I'm gonna say it. I'm not afraid to. Poorly designed processor. Oh well, it's over. It's done with. Why complain about it, right? Right.
Yeah.
So the processor itself, you see that it's $150 processor. That is an awesome price because you get better multi-core performance, and that's where it really matters in some workloads that you're going to be using. If you're not a gamer, even if you're a gamer, most of them were bound to 4 cores at times, 8 threads at most, because Intel CPUs wouldn't go past 4 cores, 8 threads, because quote unquote, it's almost. Well, I'm not gonna quote that because I don't know what exactly they said, but it's really illogical and inefficient to bring more cores to the average consumer, said Intel. Well, AMD was like, yeah, right. More cores will be better for people who like to be content creators, so we're going to make a processor that's half the price of yours that would outperform yours. And that's exactly what they did with the Ryzen series processors. Now, if you look at the Ryzen 5 compared to the Core i5, Ryzen 7 compared to the Core i7 7th generation and the first generation Ryzen, you get a 36% increase. A 36, ladies and gentlemen. 36! Like,
Yay!
oh my goodness! Well, you're really enthusiastic about that. But 36% improvement in the multi-threaded workload. But then again, you do lose 25% in the single-threaded workload. So you will notice a huge improvement in video rendering and stuff like that. But not so. You will barely notice. I'm a robot now.
Yes.
You will not really notice a huge huge decrease of improvement. You will not notice a huge decrease in performance. There we go. In gaming, you'll notice about 5 to 10 frames, maybe 15. So it's really nothing to write home about if you buy this for
Right.
gaming. But if you're going to be worker video editor at day, hardcore gamer at night, this will be the perfect processor for you. Now, if you look over here, there's a base core speed, of 3.4 gigahertz and a max turbo of 3.8. Again, all Ryzen processors are factory unlocked, so you don't have to pay extra for the K series just to get unlocked. You can just buy it, and you get the unlocked version of it. You don't have to worry for the Ryzen. But nah, Intel, no, we're gonna give you this for but if you buy this, it's gonna be $50 more just for you to overclock it. Oh my gosh. But it has 4 cores, 8 threads. And finally, there's a 4-core, 8 thread for Intel. Like, seriously, do you have to buy that much?
Right.
Wait, I did that wrong. That's wrong. It's an 8-core, 16 thread. I cannot believe I messed that up.
Oh my
8-core,
God.
16 threads for Ryzen 7. And a 4-core, 8 threads. You get double the cores and double the threads for $100 less. Like, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't buy this CPU, you're missing out on a huge deal.
Yes.
But wait till the second gen. You'll see the massive improvement to the second gen, which we're going to look at right now. Now, I couldn't find a Ryzen 3 second gen non-G variant, so I was like, okay, we're just going to skip that because, oh, by the way, they actually have 4 cores, 4 threads on the Core i3 8th generation. Like, oh my gosh, they finally realized we could do more. We have to stop lying to these poor people. I'm gonna stop there because I don't want to get too many negative comments.
Yeah.
But with the Core i5 8400 and the Ryzen 5 2600, you'll see AMD takes the lead by 16% in the multi-threaded workload. 16%. You'll notice that about 3-4 minutes, which is, if you actually, I don't even know how much that would be, but that'll be a lot better performance in multi-threaded workers. Again, like video editing and stuff like that. But again, in gaming, you'll see, if you look over here, there's a 16% decrease. I mean, Intel excelled by 16%, okay? But if you look over here, Intel excelled previously by 26%. So you see, oh, wrong one. They actually caught up a lot with the 12 nanometer node. Mind you,
Right.
Intel has yet to break the 12 nanometer, yet to break the 10 nanometer. You see that AMD has broke this 10, broke the 8, and are on the 7 nanometer node. So Intel has a lot of catching up to do.
Yep.
So if you look at the second generation of Ryzen 5, you get a 3.4 gigahertz base clock. Now with this, you get a 2.8 gigahertz base clock with a max turbo of 4.0 for the Core i5 8th generation. So they had to cut some corners because you can't keep using a 12 nanometer node with 6 cores, 6 threads, and be able to keep it like that, and not be able to have good thermals. So they cut the corners. They were like, okay, well, for us to get this 6 cores, blah 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 blah, we have to lower the clock speed. This way, they get the same amount of TDP, but they get better cores, more cores, blah 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 blah. But if you look over here, it's 6 core, 12 threads. So you right away notice that they have double the threads. Same amount of cores, double the threads, higher clock speeds, almost the same turbo speed. Please note that this is a 0.1 gigahertz turbo speed difference. So you won't see any difference whatsoever unless if you're running a benchmark. Even then, you won't notice a huge difference. But look at the price. Look at the price. It's only
Yep.
$160 USD. That's $110 less for almost double the amount of threads. For Intel, you have for AMD, you have double the threads for $110 less. Like,
Right.
unless if you like, oh, we don't care. AMD is gonna burn out sooner or later. No, actually, these are actually really good chips. I actually used one of them before, and they're extremely good chips for Ryzen. Intel, they're money hungry. Okay, they're money hungry.
They
AMD
are.
just proved that with their new lineup with so many cores, so many threads, half the price. They just like left, right, uppercut type of thing to Intel. Like, oh my goodness, there's 12 threads. You know, like people are so psyched about 12 threads to the average consumer instead of it being 2 cores, 4 threads, or 2 cores. 4 cores, 4 threads, or 4 cores, 8 threads. That was like, oh my goodness, like really? Why Intel? Why would you do this to us? Uh, there are people that have money. They're gonna pay for everything, right? Wrong. We're gonna we're gonna go for it, Ryzen now because they have more cores, more threads, better prices, better performance. When you
Yep.
see that price tag, the performance is like. Now, here's where things get interesting. With the
Oh
Ryzen,
wow.
yeah, this is where things get really interesting. With the Ryzen 7 2700 and the Intel Core i7 8700, you see a difference of 1% in the multi-thread workload. Intel took the lead by a whopping 1%.
1%.
1%. 1%. That could be easily changed by just upping the gigahertz by a few. A little bit, point
Yeah.
0.5. You get better. Oh my gosh. What?
Quit
Then,
it.
sorry. Then again, it is a single-threaded workload. It does fall behind. AMD does fall behind again. You'll constantly see this until they break the 7 nanometer node for the consumers. You'll see that there's a 23% decrease compared to Intel. But then again, you're not going to notice that unless if you're really, really noticing it because you want to be a butt. But let's move
Right.
on, shall we? To the specs.
Yep.
So this has
Oh
a sim.
god.
Oh, that looks weird. Oh well. Now, if you look at the second gen, or is this the first gen? This is the second gen. There we go. My brain took a fart real quick. If you look at the second gen, it's a 3.2. Thank you. It just took a fart again. It's a 3.2 gigahertz base clock speed, which is the exact same as Intel. But you will notice that the turbo speed is a 4.1 gigahertz
Yeah.
compared to a 4.6. That's only a 0.5 difference. Again, you will not really notice that much. Okay? You won't. Now, the number of cores is where it kind of gets interesting. There's 8 cores, 16 threads in the Ryzen series. There's 6 cores, 12 threads in the Core
Intel.
i7 Intel thing. And the same amount of TDP. Eh. But the price. Everybody, the price. This is
$170.
100 and thank you. That was quick. You save almost $200 for almost the same exact performance. Like really? What the heck are you doing, Intel?
I know. There's
Like
they're on something.
they're on some cheap pup. They're just on something like that's really cheap. Now here's where
Oh god.
I'm really excited for. Here's what I'm really excited for. You look over here. This is the oh. This is what was leaked by Door TV. He has multiple sources saying almost the exact same thing. So you gotta remember with leaks, you have to take a grain of salt to all this. I have to resize this. Hold on, real quick. Say. Okay, so if you look over here, you see the leaks for the Ryzen third generation or Zen 2, as AMD is calling it, instead of being Zen Plus. That's gonna be Zen 2. Oh, Zen 2! Oh my gosh, so excited! Now, if you look at the leaks,
Oh
it's gonna be
god.
a Ryzen 3 3300, which has 6
Wait a
cores,
minute.
12 threads. What? No
Go
way.
ahead.
6 cores, 12 threads? Wow. Like, that's just gonna be insane. Like, that's only. Well, this. You have to remember, take this with a grain of salt, okay? But the
Mm-hmm.
predicted prices for this, which I don't think these are gonna be the prices exactly, because there's gonna be a little bit of a difference because they don't come out with the prices until like a week or two before its launch date, okay? So you gotta remember
Yeah.
this is gonna be like with a grain of salt. So if you look over here, the Core not the Core, the Ryzen 3 6 core 12 threads. That's what you get for the Ryzen 5 as of right now. You get 6 cores, 12 threads. So, like, oh my goodness, cutting the transistor size in half will give you more cores, more threads, not to mention better per core performance. So, like, why not switch this, right? And
Right.
I can't think of a reason why not to. If you look at the base clock, I don't know if this is going to be for real or not, but it's going to be 3.2 gigahertz base clock with a boost clock of 4.0 gigahertz with a TDP of 50 watts. Now, if this was for the as of right now the second gen Ryzen, you would not be able to get this at a 50 TDP. This would be around 65, maybe 70 watts. But a 50 watt TDP for 6 cores, 12 threads, that's extraordinary. For a price of
Yeah.
$100. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, $100. That's extremely cheap. You were paying
That is.
150. Now you're paying $100 for 6 cores, 12 threads. Boom. Overclockable right out the box. Like, why not? You know. Then if you look down the price stack, I mean product lineup stack, there's going to be an X variant to this, which you have the little bit better silicone, which is what a CPU is. It's silicone. It'll be 3.5 gigahertz boost with the 4. I mean, with base clock of 3.5 with a boost of 4.3 at 65 TDP. Now that'll be a $30 increase, but I think for a little bit better silicone, I think that's a decent price. Now, if you look at the if you look at the G variant of this, you're gonna get the um Navi. If you look at the G variant of this, you're gonna get 6 cores, 12 threads, and 15 compute cores of the Navi graphics processor. So that, if I'm not mistaken,
Okay.
will be the performance of a 1050 or a 1050 Ti. So that on a chip the size of your computer
So
CPU chip,
integrative, right?
it's going to be integrated, yes, but you get the performance of a 1050 Ti, roughly.
Oh, nice.
So
Just out
that
of the
at
box, pretty much.
$130, roughly. Remember, take this with a grain of salt. With a TDP of 65 watts, roughly. Take that with a grain of salt again. That's extraordinary. Remember, this is probably going to be, if you look over here, I'm going to assume that this is how it's going to look. With a 14 nanometer I/O, which will with a 6 core 7 nanometer chiplet design, as they announced in their what's this called, Epic processor list, which is their server based computing core stuff. If you look right
That's a
here,
big chip.
yes, this is thread ripper sized chips. Okay, if you look right here, this over here is the 14 nanometer I/O. This over here, these are the chiplets. There's 4 chiplets to this, each one having 8 core 16 threads, if I'm not mistaken. 8 times 4. Uh,
Looks
yeah.
like motherboards are gonna be bigger.
No, motherboards will stay around the same size. It's just a socket. But
That's
this
that's a
but
bigger chip. Looks like it than our normal chip size.
it is, but this is for the server. This is for server. What I'm expecting this to be the same size as your well, this is going to be the same size as your AM4 platform motherboard. Not the motherboard itself, but the socket. It's going to be the same size as every single
Yeah.
CPU that will fit in that socket. It's going to be the same size, but only with the BIOS update it'll work. Extraordinary,
Oh
right?
yeah.
You get the Navi 15 compute core units for $130. Like, who can argue with that? And then if you go back down to here, which is 8 cores, 16 threads, Ryzen 5 3600 with a base clock of 3.6 gigahertz with a boost clock of 4.4 gigahertz. Like, the boost clock of that much with the base clock of that much for a 65 watt TDP, that's actually really good for 8 core, 16 threads. You're getting Ryzen 7 performance. Ryzen 7 cores on a Ryzen 5. That's extraordinary. The price of this is going to be $180, but that's perfectly good. Could you imagine a chip like this being bought sold by Intel? Like that would be at least $500, maybe $600.
Yeah.
Like, what is Intel thinking?
Like the 9's almost like $900.
Exactly, and that's what 8 cores, 12 threads. 8 cores, 16 threads. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around there, or 12 core, 24 threads, something like that. I don't know for sure, but let's skip over the X variant because it's gonna be like the same thing going up and down the list. I'm more interested in the G variant of the 3600. It's going to have. It's going to have. It's going to have. I'm I'm like a record player that's skipping tracks. 8 cores. It's going to have 8 cores and 16 threads, but it's going to have 20 compute units of the Navi. So that's going to look something like this. 8 cores and 8 core 16 threads chiplet with a 20 fudge.
What?
I keep brain farting. So it's gonna have.
Quit it.
I can't. So it's gonna have the performance of roughly a 1060 or 1060 Ti or $200. You gotta
That's not
remember,
bad.
if you bought the Intel equivalent Core i7, and if you bought that 1060 Ti or 1066 gig, whatever, that will be at least 450 plus around 250. Would be about $700 just for those two alone, roughly, mind you. I'm just doing the math in my head, so it's gonna be roughly that much. But you're gonna get that performance for $200. You're saving yourself a nice good $400, $500, excuse me. Like, who could argue with those results? Like, now the prices will vary at launch date because these are only estimates and these are leaks, so you have to take this with a grain of salt. But then again, why would you not go for this? Like, you have to be completely insane just to stick with Intel's high price range for less performance.
True.
And you gotta remember, these will be on 7 nanometer process nodes for their transistors. So you gotta remember, you'll have double the amount of transistors, so double the performance, roughly. Now, if you look at the Ryzen 7 series, for 3700, you'll get 12 cores, 24 threads. That's basically, if I'm not mistaken, Threadripper size. Threadripper base. And you're gonna get that for $300. This was kind of like a weird thing for AMD to do because they're completely destroying their Threadripper lineup. I don't know why they did that, but this is extraordinary. But you're gonna get this at $300, roughly, with a base clock of 3.8 gigahertz and a boost clock of 4.6. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The X variant of this, you're gonna get the same amount of cores, same amount of threads, but a better silicone wafer. You're gonna get 4.2 gigahertz base clock with a boost clock of 5 gigahertz. What? 5 gigahertz. Mind blown. Like, for me to reach 5 gigahertz, I have to have a 240 millimeter radiator with it deleted on my FX series processor. Even if it's hard to get 5 gigahertz, this is just gonna breeze it easily. Let alone even
Yeah.
like seriously, what are they thinking?
And it's only a $30 difference.
Exactly. I would so totally go for this if I had the money. I mean, they're bringing more cores, more threads for equal performance to the consumer market. Like, oh my gosh, this is extraordinarily insane. Like, I love you, AMD, so much for this. Like, you finally brought competition back. Like, oh my gosh. Becky, look at them. But
No, don't.
it looks like they're stealing, yet again, something else from Intel. The 9. The Ryzen 9 3800X and
Yeah, that's a new one.
3850X. I think they're doing the 3850X as like an anniversary thing, but that's gonna
Yeah.
reach a boost clock of 5.1 gigahertz, ladies and gentlemen. 5.1. Like, oh my gosh, could you imagine being able to overclock this with the breeze to 5 gigahertz?
And look at the cores and threads.
I mean, 16 cores, 32 threads. That's server level hardware in a consumer computer. Oh my gosh! Now all we have to wait for is the gaming industry to catch up and realize that these are actually going to stick around. So we should probably be
Yeah.
utilizing more cores. Like, what? What? As my friend would say. What? So over here you'll see um something over here. You're gonna see like the CPU and blah 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 blah. You're probably, if you want well, not perfect, but higher performance for your motherboard. I mean, you'll still be able to use this with the B350, B450, and stuff like that, but you'll probably have better compatibility if you stick with the X570 motherboard. But you don't really have to worry about it unless if you're building a new computer. Then I would highly recommend you go for the latest chipset for the motherboard things. So, yeah, that's actually really nice. Now, back to here. You see that there's the Ryzen Epic platform, which is for servers. The Infinity Fabric ties all these together at a super fast rate, faster than you could think, practically. Um, so all these can. I don't think that. I'm gonna guess that this is what they're gonna use, like the Infinity Fabric over here, but I highly doubt it because you're gonna remember, for chiplets to do this, there's gonna be some latency between the 7 nanometer
Yeah.
chiplets and the 14 nanometer die itself. Then the processing unit for the Navi. I think that they're gonna scrap the 14 nanometer I/O for the consumer grade things. I think they're just going to redesign it to where the chiplet itself is going to have the I/O integrated into it at 7 nanometers, so you get better performance, less latency, and pretty soon with the third generation of Ryzen, I believe that they're going to have a DDR5 compatibility. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that, but that's what I am expecting. But I highly doubt. So I think it's just going to be like the chiplet in the middle without having the 14 nanometer transistor size I/O in the middle. I don't even think they're going to have the 14 nanometer processor in the desktop consumer grade thing. But then again, we will not know until CEX happens. Not this one. Over here. Which I think is going to be like in June or July. I'm not 100% sure. But it's going to be. They're going to release. I'm expecting them to release how the CPU is and how the dial look. I have a feeling it's not going to be the 14 nanometer with the 7 nanometer. I think it's just going to be a 7 nanometer altogether, just so it's less latency, so I get more frames, more everything, and better performance overall than just having a 14 nanometer with better less power consumption. So I highly doubt that they're going to stick with the 14 nanometer outside of the server range or maybe the Threadripper range. But other than that, I think they're going to stick with the 7 nanometer in the what I think. But then again, I'm not AMD, so I will have no idea until they come out. And once the
Right.
benchmarks drop, I am gonna come at you guys with a new video of TikToks. But let's go back to the starting page. There we go. So Zen 3 is probably going to be 70 nanometer plus, which is going to be a more refined, better, more refined. So if you look over here at Zen 3, it's going to be a 7 nanometer plus architect. It's going to still use the Zen based architect. It's going to be more refined, so it's going to be able to perform tasks more efficiently than Zen 2. But then again, you really won't notice too much of a difference between performance. But when you do build a new computer, if you're going to build a new computer, if Zen 3 is out, I would recommend that you use Zen 3. Because
Right.
you're going to get that little bit extra performance for roughly the same price. So, why not, right? But this is going to
Yep.
conclude today's video. I really hope you guys stuck through this. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. Questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions for my next Tech Talk videos, please let me know, because I'm really excited to do this series. I'm really passionate about technology, as you can tell through my voice.
Yes.
Yeah, he's bored by this. I'm excited by this. Oh, this is our determination. No, I'm kidding. um, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But anywho, make sure to stick around for the next episode. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you really do like this, please let me know, because I want to do more of these. So you have any suggestions, please let me know, because I want to know what you guys want to see so I can deliver what you want. You know?
Don't forget, you guys can also tweet out to Michael as well.
Yeah, I finally got my Twitter fix. They keep doing this to my Twitter, and I don't know why. It's really dumb. Don't forget, I'll have Cosi's Minecraft channel link in the description below. Don't forget to check out other channels in the Rebels. Don't forget to check out Medic, Rhino, and all them. And
Yep.
don't forget to check out the Patreon if you want to help me. If you want to support me doing this, don't forget to check that out. It goes from anywhere from a $1 tier, but you'll get a reward if you go for a $5 tier, to a $25. I don't remember offhand, but it's like $20 or $25, and I'll be able to have a server for y'all, like a vanilla server, and other servers just for any of you who want to come join me. So feel free. Don't forget to check out the merch link in the description below. If I still have merch links, I don't know if I do. But anyway, I'm just carrying this thing on too long. I'm flaring my hands in the air, like I just do not care. Like literally, I'm weird like
Yeah.
that. If
He
I had a
is.
webcam, you know, only. Bye guys.
Bye, guys.
Oh,
Are we done?